So, okay, then I'm going to start asking you the same questions I wanted to talk to you about last week because our preliminary text back and forth to each other was you just sharing with me how excited you were about a program that you had seen and wanted to take, and almost like sharing it with me so that I would talk you out of it, and then I didn't talk you out of it, and then you're like, damn.
I was so mad at you, Jill.
Yeah, so what even was that? Like that idea that you were actually looking, were you looking for a way out? Because maybe, or maybe you texted me because you were like, Jill will give me all the good reasons why I don't know, maybe it wasn't. Maybe you weren't self-sabotaging.
I don't think I was. I think I was feeling, well, so much, a lot of my issue often comes down to the investment in myself.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, like, I don't even know what a course like this should cost.
Yeah.
And everybody's online these days. Everybody's an expert, just all this stuff. And, I don't want to invest in something that's just ridiculous too, and a kind of a puff piece of something. So I thought, well, I'll talk to Jill, because Jill, you've done a lot of training. I know you're going to know kind of the ballpark for what these trainings should cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought what you'd say was, well, gee, that's a really expensive 100% online course. And then you didn't say that. You were like, do it and do what we talked about too. And then I was like all of that, the whole, it's like, bad enough I'm going to invest in myself in one area of my life. Now my good friend Jill saying invest in this other area too. And so it was just so difficult to believe that investing that much money in myself, and it's just training. I mean, I have to take the information and do something. It's not like I'm getting a package that I can turn around and do something with. So I just felt like, what it really was. It's taking responsibility. I was afraid to take that responsibility for myself in this world.
One thing I feel like our friendship has developed along the lines of kind of watching our own Dharma grow, right? Watching each of us sort of live into that piece of life. What is my life purpose, and what am I meant to be doing right now? And like that's what I felt like that step was. It was like you had this really internal pull to a certain program. And I mean, you've had it in the past too, this sort of pull, I should do that. And you have been investing, you have been allowing that pattern to start to be normal in your life. From my perspective, because I feel like our kids, were like our middle ones. My youngest, your middle one, were in kindergarten, and they're in grade 11 now. So that was a long time ago when this journey started. And since then, I believe that, like, I've seen you make those decisions that, no, I want to do that, and I'm going to try, or I'm going to go after it. And I want to know, like, one thing that you're so good at all the time is what is the feeling of that, like, stirring inside of you that calls you to, I don't know, something that connects you to something and says, this is what I want to do. Like, what is that sensation?
Oh, well, I think there's two things to be so clear on when we talk about this, because I definitely get like an intellectual stimulation sensation from certain things, and I'm like, I should do that. That's something I should do. Again, should, even though it seems like it's in a positive way, it's something I should do. And so the second sensation I have it's just, I don't even know, physical response to it. It's when I'm actively doing something, there's like, it's just like, I feel it right down the center of my body. It's excitement, really. But different. It's just it's a knowing excitement, I suppose. So when I was doing a lot of yoga over the Christmas holidays. That was, I just committed to myself that I just needed to have some kind of anchor. I wanted to do Christmas different this year, because Christmas is always it's a stressful time anyway. But it always has been for me my whole life, even when I was a little kid. So I wanted something to be different. And I thought, well, the easiest thing I can do is have some kind of a movement meditation practice and be really okay with 5 minutes. Just, and you don't realize it at the time, but what you're actually doing is booking time with yourself every day.
Yeah.
Like, how have I lived 42 years and not been connecting with myself every single day? Like, now it kind of baffles me. I think how much more I could have accomplished if I was having a meeting with myself every day.
I love that sensation. And you succeeded, because when you and I were texting, you said I've hit 50 days, and this was a few weeks ago already.
Yeah, I'm 70 days today.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so there's something that happens, I think, when you I don't know, when you start following that excitement that you're talking about, that excited knowing.
Yeah.
And then you add on your date with yourself every day, booking time with yourself every day, however that turns out. And it's like in Ayurveda, they would say you're building ojas. You're building your container, and the container is starting to be able to hold more, And I want you to speak to that, because I feel like I've watched your container grow stronger, more vibrant, bigger, holding more since the day I met you.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think, like, I definitely have periods of time in my life, especially, having little kids, where I think just being a very creative person, and then living sort of this very rigid life that you have when you have toddlers and things. I don't think I always managed that well. And there were days where, like, it would be like, okay, today we're going to go to the grocery store. Like, that's about all I could do. The rest of the day was at home, and that's okay. I'm actually happy with a life like that. But it wasn't that I was always making it as a choice. That was sort of how all I could manage at the time. So, so if I just spoke to just specific practice, it's amazing that all of a sudden you can do. I want to be careful how I say this, because I don't want everyone thinking it's like, all of a sudden you can do your entire to-do list. It's not about that at all. It's by connecting with myself, I'm better able to see where I want to invest my time and my energy. I'm getting better at developing boundaries. And you had to text my sister the other night, because there was something I wanted to say no to, and I didn't know how to say no. And so I texted him, like, this is going to sound so crazy, but I just don't want to do this. But I feel like I have to, because I don't know how to say no otherwise. And she was like, well, you just say no. Just say no, put your phone down, and go do something else. And it was hard, and yet it's exactly what you need to do. And so the practice has taught me that, it's really taught me how to say yes to what I want, but it's also helped me clarify what it is I want, because I wasn't clear on that before either. I think that's sometimes just a motherhood thing. I'm reaching that stage where, our youngest is 11 now, and there's a transition point that happens, right? Where for so long, 18 years, Tynan's 18, I couldn't say no to a lot of things. You just have to, yes. Kids are older, so I can start reclaiming things and saying no to them specifically. So
it's almost like two things then. One is that starting to say yes to the right things. Like in the beginning, there's something around that has a resistance to it, because it feels like you said, like, what am I doing investing in myself this way?
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a few like you have a few examples in this latest one, even like you pushed through some of that resistance that was building in you, and you chose anyway to follow that. I'm going to call it that excitement and knowing that you described that Dharma as. So what is it? What is the pathway then? Or how does the ability arise in someone to be able to push past the fear or the doubt or the negative voice and do it? I mean, it's like there must be a tipping point somewhere.
Oh, I think that's like, I would call that the impossible question, which is not a hopeful kind of thing for me to say, but because I have searched for that. I have worked for years trying to, what is the formula? What does everybody do? And it's so unique to you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, nobody has the answer. Outside of book a meeting with yourself every single day. Like, that's where the answer is. And then trust that. It's just, I could always hear you and Jody in my head when I was showing up for my yoga every day over the holidays. And I'm like, I just have to show up and do it. I don't have to think about it. And that's the hardest thing for me. I want to know the why. I want to tease it all apart. I want to think about it and talk about it. And that's such a beautiful way of having conversations with people. But I think even that is a form of, I guess, self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Distracting yourself, right? I'm going to invest time and do these great things for myself, but then I'm going to talk about it and not just let the magic happen. And it's almost like show up, do the work, and then let it, it's like bread rising or something, you know, you've done the work, you've got to let it sit and just take care of itself, and you go do something else.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of percolates naturally, and it's like, gosh, I worked so hard for so many years. It was the opposite of what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I should have been quiet, and I struggle with, I don't like meditation. I have a busy mind, and meditation can be scary for me because I can't turn my head off.
Mm-hmm.
I think again that can be a mother thing too. So just trying. Physical practice really aims because I needed to. I needed the body to be busy. I needed the mind to be busy on something else, and I just needed to let everything fall into place on its own and just trust. So I guess that's what I'd say. Like, just 5 minutes.
Yeah. It is that, isn't it? It's Patabi Joy's quote is practice and all is coming.
Yeah.
But it's almost like that yoga's rule is just get on the mat and let yoga do the rest. Like, it's not up to you to dictate what the results are going to be.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. You just have to get on the mat, and then that's what gives you the clarity. Or it doesn't necessarily, like you said, everyone might find this different ways. For some, it might be like walk in nature. It can be a different kind of date with yourself. For some, it might be meditation.
Yeah. So
there's a pattern building in you right now where you're saying yes to that deeper voice, not the should voice telling you what to do, but you are, I think, creating a pattern of saying yes to yourself. And what is arising because of that new perspective that you're creating? I mean, like, what lessons are coming out? What results are coming out? What's the repercussions, the ripple effect of that?
Well, I think the most important thing, I think, to acknowledge is how much fear and terror there is that comes up because, you are intentionally taking the steps to change your life. And whatever your life is, even if it's uncomfortable in some ways, it's still comfortable because you know what it is. So my first feeling is fear. I love stability, so it's really hard for me to feel like maybe I'm that, like, that foundation is changing.
Mm-hmm.
but in the little moments of sort of saying yes, it's like this incredible, there's just so much, I don't even know if there's a word for it. It can really be the smallest thing, just, sitting on the mat or whatever for the 5 minutes. And the good that comes from that, it definitely outweighs the fear. I mean, the fear is still there, but those little drops of good along the way start to, I think you become confident, a little bit more confident in yourself. You trust yourself a little bit more.
And that's kind of what it feels like to me, that it's like those little drops of good start to reassure you that this place of uncomfortable is just uncomfortable and unfamiliar. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Because I think that even if whatever situation we're in has negative attributes or negative things going on, they're still familiar to us.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that the pattern is familiar, and familiarity breeds this kind of safety thing. And so, yeah. So you said to me when we first started chatting, you said, if we would have talked a week ago, you were elated, you were on cloud nine, everything was great. And then this week, the foundation feels like there's a bit of shift happening. And yet, tell me about the course. Like, are you loving it? Was it the right decision? Is the shifting foundation too scary? All those things.
Oh, I would say, without a doubt, this is like, because you and I have talked for years about it. It's not even that I have a love-hate with yoga. It's that like yoga and I are both sitting in the room, like staring at each other, trying to figure out, who we even are. Like it's just a weird, confusing relationship that I've had with yoga. But when I started doing this is a Kundalini style. It's more, I believe this lady's teacher was Rod Stryker. So it's a little bit, a slightly different path. And it just suits me so well. And because I get energy easily. I think I have a theory that those of us kids that were called shy, like I was a shy baby. My mom said someone else could hold me and I'd be facing away and I would cry the second she walked out of a room, even though I couldn't see her leaving. So I think us shy kids have a lot of really unique sensitivities. And so when I started doing, first off, with Megan at Alchemy, and then over Christmas doing a little bit more online with Gloria Latham, it's kind of I don't want to say homecoming because that sounds so cliche, but I just got it. I just got it.
It's like you and yoga stopped staring at each other, and yoga's like, well, what about this way? And you went, okay, yeah, that way.
Yeah. It was like all the music was coming on and we could never find the right song to dance to. And then all of a sudden, like, yes, there it is. So, yeah.
That's kind of essential, isn't it? Because I feel like yoga offers so many entry points for this idea of booking time with yourself every day.
Yeah.
And every person almost has to mess around till they find the song they want to dance to. Because for some people it might be that, hot 26 version. For some people it's going to be a flow. For some people it might be yin. For some people it might be Kundalini. It might be meditation. There is so many entry points, and there might even be I feel like your practice, you've used a phrase with me before, and you might have to tell me if I need to delete this out of the video because I'm going to be saying a trademarked name. Should I keep quiet? Because I feel like you already in your head know what all the culmination of all of this is. And it's this idea of your dance background and your yoga understanding merging.
Yeah. No, you can say that. I'm afraid other people probably already use that term. So maybe.
Well, you've used the phrase body prayer, and how it's like going to be a class. It's going to be a course. It's going to be a place that you come to have this time with yourself. And it is going to be through the beautiful movement and music. I know that it'll have those two components to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be graceful, like dancing, and it's going to be so connected to energy and divine. And it's almost like you can feel it crystallizing. Every step you take towards this deeper Dharma feels like this deeper idea is crystallizing.
Yeah. And it's exciting and overwhelming, because I think like I think we're always looking for like point B, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna get all this training and then I'm gonna create this thing. But I think maybe we're mistaken in trying to do everything that way. Maybe point B is actually just the next step, and then it's point C and point D. And so instead of making this one great big point B across the page, it's always just the next step.
Yeah.
And we're gonna build and build, and I think that allows it to be a living, breathing, fluid thing. Because the other part, and I would say this about, I guess I would challenge people or ask people about their own yoga practice and say, are you listening to your body? You might like hot 26, but your body might want a yin that day. Like, and now when you guys have the courses online or the classes online, you can pick. And again, that's just a deeper way to honor your body, because it's not about you all the time.
Yeah.
The yoga practice can't always be, I want, what I'm thinking I need to do. I have to feel into that and say, what does my body need today? And sometimes that's the hard part.
Yeah. To give yourself permission to be in the place. I like that idea about the end result too, because I think there is a very specific teaching from yoga saying, you don't get to pick the result. I pick the result. Yoga picks the result, or the divine picks the result, but it's not what you're doing now is going to lead you somewhere amazing, but you might not even be able to imagine how amazing or what that is. So the result is sort of stays in that ethereal state a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's something about this whole path then that's almost like finding your passion or rediscovering your passion or exploring it, maybe finding, exploring, rediscovering. I don't know, but I think there's lots of people who are like, tell me what step one is, because I don't even know what my passion is.
Oh, and I feel like that. I have a lot of passions, but I'm still looking for, what is my thing? And so even as we're talking about developing this stuff, it's like, I'm not thinking that that's my thing. I'm still thinking, what is my thing? So I wonder if maybe even that idea has to go out the window a little bit, because that's limiting. What if we just got up every day and it was, how do I want to move today? How do I want to be with my family today? Look, I mean, you teach so much of this, right? In all of your work. And those are the questions. How can I commit every day to creating, the best life I can create? And then define that. What is best life to you?
Yeah.
And
then, like you said, okay, so you've been on the mat 70 days in a row, and there's something that comes of that date with yourself. So you finish up on the mat. There's a clarity present in that moment. And that clarity does help you define your day in terms of what is important to me today.
Yeah.
What is the top thing on my priority list? Deep from that knowing place, not from my should, not my should priority list or my should list. But there's something about the practice that allows that piece to rise about what is necessary today.
Yeah.
So you're saying take it back right to that step and allow what those important things are to rise daily. And then all of these other things will start to define themselves in the practice.
Yeah, it's a leap of faith. And I think the way we are educated and the way we just how society, we're pushing it, right? We're like saying to daughters in grade 11, what do you want to learn? We don't even know. We're adults, so I think that's what's got to go. And it's like, what what lights you up? What do you want to do today that's just going to make you feel alive? And that's when you sit on your mat every day, from my experience, which really has really only been 70 days of really good committed experience. It is the dropping into your body. I would say the thoughts aren't coming from my headspace. They're coming from, down and deep, like past your heart. It's deep.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are quiet and you're with yourself and you can ask that question, just pick one thing. What's one thing that's going to just light me up today? And it might be, I'm going to set a timer and read my book. Like, it doesn't have to look like, it doesn't always have to look like you're working towards some big career kind of goal.
Yeah.
It's how am I going to love myself today so that I value myself more, and I come to learn that I have just things to offer that are important and significant that nobody else can offer this world. And you have to value yourself so much. And I think that's really what was lacking for me, is I wasn't valuing my uniqueness or what I could contribute for a lot of years.
And not valuing in a way that, I think we all do this, right? We don't value that unique gift because we're afraid of it being judged. We're afraid of bringing it up, and it's like showing your deepest, darkest thing. And if anyone judges it, or if you're vulnerable in sharing it and it gets like dissed, it's like the biggest wound ever, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There's a couple things that you said I wanted to comment on. And one is this idea of non-attachment, because this idea in the yamas of non-attachment is where this comes from. Like, we can't be attached to what's my passion, I need to discover it, or what's my end result, what's my goal from this. It is about coming to, and then the other saying in yoga is, let the head bow to the heart.
Yes.
So whatever your date with yourself practice is something that allows the head to bow to the heart, so that deeper knowing place, the clarity, the connection to that deeper place becomes present.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost sacred, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not, I think with all things sacred, there's simplicity. I mean, you create a ritual, that's fine, and that can help people drop in differently or more quickly. But I think anything sacred is simple.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, again, it might be the 20 minutes on the couch reading the book. We know, again, coming back to mothers, we know 20 minutes of uninterrupted time where you can just read your novel, it is sacred. It is. And I think, but it's scary to think, we really do feel like we've got to be out, pounding the pavement to some degree, creating this life. And we see that, right? It's, be the author of your own life. But maybe that isn't exactly right. We are the character in the story of our life, but are we the author?
That's a great question. Hey, I wonder.
If I show up and can do what I feel is being asked of me, or what, whatever wants to work through me, those are probably different decisions that I'll make in a day than if I'm running this with I need to be successful the way society says I need to be successful. Because I think if I had my way, I'd just, be on the farm, planting the garden, riding horses. That's a great life to me.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like I've accomplished anything. And there's an inner struggle there for me.
Yeah. I mean, you say you've only really had 70 days on the mat. And fair. You can say that. I know that you've been kind of playing with yoga, playing with ideas of Ayurveda for at least the last four or 5 years.
20 years when I first really like
Right?
started, right? 20,
Yeah.
we all do that around age 20. We start getting into this, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That's another topic, another worth exploring. How come when we're 20, we start getting into this?
What was the first book? Because you said to me, oh my gosh, I bought this book on Ayurveda, or I got it somehow. It landed on my lap back when I was 20, and now I get to go back and explore it again.
Oh yeah, and I read the whole book cover to cover, and I couldn't even understand it. It was hard for me. It was Frawley?
David Frawley, yeah. Yeah, so you say, okay, I've only done 70 days on the mat or whatever, but yet this ojus building that I've witnessed it's not just the last 70 days. This has been years in the making. So there's something, and would you describe that ojus for you, the fact that it is a stronger container now, the fact that it is growing, the fact that life is holding more of what is exciting to that deep knowing place in you. Would you say kind of what you've been telling us today, that it has just been like, do this one step, feel, do this one step, notice what you feel, do this one step. No, like, has it been that sort of unraveling, slow and gentle all the way?
I would say I mostly I like to always feel like a pretty in tune person, but I definitely abandon myself a lot. And I would say that about when I'm getting those little ideas of what I should. Those ideas, yeah, those ones that just drop into me, I'll overthink them to the point where then I won't do them. So that is, of course, probably how we all start out. And then you let one thing drop in and you decide, no, let me follow that. And then when that's successful, whatever success is in that setting, I think then it's this gradual shift over, and pretty soon you start following those dropped in ideas more. And I think that's kind of what we're supposed to do. That's why I say, are we the author of our life? Or we need to be good listeners. We need to be better listeners. We need to understand that just because science is telling us, whatever it is they believe, there's just so much more that we don't understand, and we don't have to understand it. If we're making good choices for our life from this idea that's come out of the blue, why would that be wrong?
I love that. I think that if we could all trust enough to listen, there's almost like we're putting something or someone, some force in charge that has always our highest interest at heart, instead of following sort of external cues and cultural or consumer or material or whatever cues about what we should be doing. And instead of that, it's almost like that deep knowing, it always has our best interest in mind. And if you can just listen, it will guide you. And so I like that whole thought process of, are we even the authors? Or if we allow it, is that divine? Would you describe it as a divine place, divine voice, divine guidance? Or how would you describe what you are listening to?
Yeah, I that's what I say. It's the divine. And I like that word because I think it can mean anything to anyone, and it's a good word.
In the Enneagram, Jody uses the word essence. Some people call it source. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Kristen, I wanted to say thank you. I never really introduced you at the beginning of our conversation, but this is my friend Kristen Thorogood, who's currently in her Enneagram. Oh no, not Enneagram. Her Kundalini training with Miss Gloria Latham.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.